Hello friends, we're back with another Minolta video. So this time around I shot a roll of black and white film as I mentioned in the last video. So first let's get the film established. This is, let's see, Fujifilm Neopan Professional Acros 102. So that's a bit of a mouthful. But yeah, this was the black and white film that was available at a camera shop here. And I wanted to give it a shot. So as I've been taking this on this Minolta SRT 101, this is the third roll of film I've taken on it. And I was reviewing the last video I made, especially the second roll of color film I shot, and it really got to thinking. For that roll, I was using polarizers. I was really trying to be very precise about the aperture, setting it at 500 millisecond, or 1/500th of a second. And then trying to be very precise about the aperture and the polarizer, trying to keep the sky from getting blown out, trying to get it as sharp as possible on the focus, and going to quite a lot of effort for all of that. And I kind of realized, if I wanted a photo with very accurate colors, proper exposure of the sky and the subject and sharpness, I do already have this Sony, which represents 50, 60 years of optical advancement in camera technology over the Minolta. So I kind of thought, to some extent, I don't want to take bad pictures with it because that's just sort of wasting time and money. But to some extent, really trying to just go for super hyper accuracy with film seems like it's kind of I don't want to say a lost cause, but it's a little silly when, camera technology has advanced this much over the decades. So I thought black and white kind of represents another step sort of further on the spectrum between digital photography and film photography. Whereas I think the point of digital photography, especially with high-end cameras nowadays, is that it captures as much data as possible and that you have the ability to really alter that to your liking. And you can take a still and really change the feel of the shot because you have so much color and lighting information. And film is more opinionated. You are giving up some degree of control over the final product. You're making a physical imprint on the film. And you are, in a way, that opinionated nature of the film is kind of something you have to work with and celebrate. You're sort of working with the film. So I thought that black and white is sort of maybe a somewhat more pure expression of that than color film. And it's not that color film is bad or that I'm never going to shoot color film again, but I thought black and white would be fun. Taking color away then really exposes you to the opinionated nature of film, as it were. So with that in mind, let's look at the pictures. I liked how these turned out for the most part. I was, again, kind of pleasantly surprised. It was sort of like that first roll of film, color film, where it was kind of surprising to get it back and see what worked and what didn't. So this first shot right here, I thought was probably my favorite shot. This is just looking through a couple local houses here, just looking, I think, over a wall. There's houses around here that I think are sort of agricultural, like this is probably the house of somebody and a storehouse for their, in this case, persimmons are a big product around here as well as apples. So this was kind of, I don't want to call it a compound, but kind of this series of buildings that made up a house and probably someone's workplace as well. So looking through here, it was a good case of selective focus, getting the focus well, kind of looking through here, seeing and hopefully drawing the eye using the lines of the focus of the photo. So this one I enjoyed a lot. And the next one I thought turned out very well was this. This was a building that's attached to the library here in Ida, the public library. It's I don't quite know why it's there or what it is, but it has this very kind of old Japanese style roof. I think the building has probably been maintained. I don't think it's hundreds of years old or anything like that. But yeah, this roof line especially turned out very well. And this is another part of that building. So yeah, this turned out quite. I really like the character of the older style of buildings here and the way the black and white made it look. And then this is another building here in Ida. This is a what's called the Sozokan, the Imagination Hall, I guess it's called. It's sort of a community center, kind of built up in the Showa style. So probably built maybe in the 60s, I'm guessing. And this is kind of this Art Deco style windows, which I really liked. I think which made for a very good black and white photo. And unfortunately, they're going to tear this building down maybe this year, maybe another year or two. There's a driver's license center that they're going to build on the grounds of this area. So it's too bad. It's this neat old building. It's I'm sure maintaining it is a bit tough. It's maybe a bit drafty, and a lot of old buildings like this eventually fall foul of earthquake standards. So a lot of buildings kind of have a date by which they can't really be renovated or used if they're not up to modern earthquake safety standards. So those are my favorite pictures of the black and white bunch of this roll that I took. Another thing is that I tried to, because I took most of these in November and December. So we have a lot of, vines around here for persimmons and apples. And I thought that with black and white, you're working with shapes a lot because you lose the color information. So I tried to go out and photograph some of these vines that had, been plucked. All the persimmons had been plucked or had fallen off and the leaves had fallen off. So I thought these shapes might be interesting. And I kind of thought they were. I probably could have framed these a little better. I found that, having too many vines in one picture led to, some being in focus, some being out of focus, but the picture maybe being a little too busy with if there were too many vines in it. So I don't know if I succeeded in having a very nice artistic framing of these photos. I thought that would be something interesting to try in black and white. And then it was only partway through. I used this yellow filter on some of the photos, not all of them. It was only partway through that I stumbled on some article on the internet about how you can use color filters for black and white photography to do things like draw out the sky more, increase the contrast. So one of the many things that came with the camera that my grandfather had were these color filters. So I used a yellow one. I think he has a red one and maybe an orange. I know that depending on the color, they can be stronger, and you have to sort of open up a little wider to let more light in. So I wish I'd done it for the full roll. I just did it for these last couple shots I took, maybe 4 or 5 shots. But these turned out quite well. I kind of liked how the yellow filter made them look, and I'm gonna, for the next roll black and white, I definitely want to try them out more. So this was just a sign. I kind of had to go for that everyday scenery in the city kind of shots. This was probably, again, this was maybe early December. So this was a ginkgo tree, or icho in Japanese. And this was, downtown. I think that's, the very stark yellow leaves on these ginkgo trees. I think that made a very good subject for black and white because they were so bright. And I don't know if they interact with the yellow of the filter or not, but it became clear that, okay, these are fall colors. So that was kind of nice. This was just some old random building that probably would have been around back when black and white film was in use. And here was another one. This was just a somewhat narrow building, probably had buildings next to it, as you can see by the roof line. And then this was, an izakaya, kind of a bar, a drinking hole. And as I was taking it, this maybe high school age boy was just walking across. I didn't notice him, but until I actually took the shot, but he was walking through that. And I like the balance of this one. You can see the sky is still represented clearly, but it's still kind of appealing in black and white. So those are the ones I thought worked out well. And then I had another batch of photos and other things, or I had more photos that kind of taught me a few things that I probably shouldn't do, or some things that I need to work on. So one right here, you can see that, representing leaves, a lot of leaves, a lot of greenery in black and white just doesn't really work out very well. It makes us kind of busy. It's difficult to distinguish foreground and background. And this one wasn't a success. So one thing, I'm probably used to seeing black and white photos posed in a very artsy way, trying to get the form of things and kind of off angles and things like that. These were some bars of a kind of an enclosure downtown. This was, I think, a place for some picnic benches and stuff like that. This is sort of a kind of a park. This is an enclosure that has some things like chairs and tables inside like that. So I tried to have these bars and the building in the background, but the bars themselves don't really, I don't know, I don't think they look especially profound or interesting. I probably should have framed them against the sky instead of this building, because in black and white, they aren't really distinct enough to stand out much against the background. And here's another one, yeah, where the background and the foreground didn't really have enough contrast to lead to an interesting picture. I don't know what these berries are called, but you often see them around here at New Year's. They're red. And then I had some. This was a sort of a landscape photo. I was at the art museum, and this was, I think, early December, and there was this spot you could climb up and get this nice view of the city. So I tried to take a couple landscape shots, but again, yeah, there wasn't a strong enough contrast to really contrast the sky against the land and all the buildings here. And I'll include one. This is a picture I took with my iPhone, a panorama photo I took at the same time. So the clouds were very interesting. There's this very nice lighting, and I kind of wish I had my Sony then, because I think I could have got some great landscape shots. But in black and white, it didn't really come through. The dramatic nature of the clouds, the distinctness of the buildings didn't really shine through in black and white. So that was a bit too bad. This was just some farms nearby here. This was kind of this stone wall with, like, I think the remains of, you could see something painted on it, an arrow and some persimmon trees above it. And yeah, again, the gray nature of this, the contrast of colors just wasn't there to make this a great photo. And then this was a mistake I made. So when I finished the roll of film, I had the camera. So, you press in this button at the bottom. Let's see, pressing this button at the bottom, and then you wind this crank right here. So you wind it backwards to rewind all the film. So I didn't do this correctly. When I was sitting there in the parking lot at the store I took it to. So I opened up the back, and then I saw there was film right here. So that was really bad. I realized as I opened it up that whatever shot was there, and probably its neighboring shots, were now overexposed and ruined. So unfortunately, yeah, I did lose a few shots, including a couple of shots I took where I actually had the camera and my Sony and tried to take the same shot with the same focal length. I was going to take the color photo taken from the Sony. I was going to switch that to black and white. I was going to use things like the tone curve and set the exposure so that it was about equivalent to the black and white photo, and then blur it a little bit just to kind of keep it at relative sharpness. And I was going to post both of them at the same time and say, okay, which one do you think was taken with the film camera? Which one was taken with the Sony? Because the lenses were still different, and that was going to be some basis for comparison. But unfortunately, as I opened it up, the two photos I ruined were exactly those two photos. So I wasn't able to do that, and it was a little bit of a shame. But I just... you have to be very careful when you're rewinding this. If you haven't rewinded it all the way, if you're not quite sure, you should probably keep going, because once you open it up, you lose those photos. But I did enjoy shooting black and white quite a lot. I really want to do it again. So I took it into the same shop I've been developing my other photos at, and unfortunately they don't have the hardware to develop black and white photos anymore. So they had to send it off to Tokyo. So it took about maybe 3 weeks or so for it to go to whatever lab they send it to in Tokyo and bring it back. So I didn't know what it would cost until I got back to the store. So it cost me 9,152 yen for developing the black and white film, getting the prints, and having the digital versions, which I could show in this video. So that's, as I just checked right before I made this video, that's the equivalent of $71.59 in US dollars. So that was significantly more expensive. It's about 3 times the price of the color film. And I wish I'd known that before I started, because, that attaches a pretty significant dollar value to every single photo I shoot. So I get the impression that's probably maybe among the most expensive ways to develop black and white film. You can develop it yourself. So my mom told me that, my grandfather actually did develop black and white film on his own, possibly with the Minolta or maybe with other cameras that he had. So that's something I could look into in the future. It sounds like there is a bit of an equipment investment. You have to get some amount of equipment. This roll of black and white film, I think it only cost about 1,200 yen, and that was in a store that was probably with a fairly significant markup. So the film itself is cheaper. Developments might be more expensive. There might be cheaper ways to do it. I've seen websites where you can send off rolls of black and white film, and they'll send you back the developed negatives. maybe there's a less expensive way to do it, because yeah, it's $71 a roll is quite a lot. But I do like the challenge and the feel of the black and white film. So I really want to continue doing it. I'm thinking I probably want to do maybe one more roll before spring rolls around here, because I think that's, summer photography or photographing cherry blossoms with black and white film is perhaps a bit silly, but we'll see. So I did enjoy that quite a lot. I do recommend shooting black and white film if you have a good way to develop it at a reasonable cost. So for the next video, I have another kind of fun thing I wanted to try. So one Christmas present I got this year was this thing. So this is a converter for Minolta RF mounts to Sony E-mounts. So this lets me use the Minolta lenses on this Sony E-mount camera. So I've been taking some comparison photos and kind of playing around with that, and it's something I'm going to make another video about pretty soon. So hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you've enjoyed the Minolta video so far, and see you next time.